Hello, Peppers. This is Chaz Licciardello from Planet America.
And I am Dr. David Smith from the University of Sydney. You'll see that Chaz has gone back to his traditional greeting by popular demand.
Yes, the vote was close. It was close.
No, it wasn't close.
No, it was well spread, but my vote counts for 50. I don't want to do, let's get peppy. That's the last time you're going to hear that. But what I do want to do again, one thing we will repeat from last week is giving a plug to the Radiothon from 2SER, because that's going till October 31. And they can't quite afford a new wing yet, just off the back of last week's podcast. So if you support independent community media and you're willing to pay for it, please go to 2ser.com and click subscribe. Apparently, a few of you did last week, so thank you very much for that. Didn't help me, but helped them, and they helped me. So
It did help us.
It helped the world.
Yes.
That's the important bit. Okay, now, I don't know if you can tell from the light, but this is during the day. Normally we do these things in the evening. This is directly after we recorded the show directly after the debate, and this is directly after the record of the show, before we do the edit.
Yeah.
Because
this is the first time that we're actually, done it before the edits.
Yeah, so this is pretty fresh. I don't have any grabs from the debate because I've just run out of the studio. You didn't watch the debate, did you?
Did not watch the debate. No, I was working towards a dedeadline.
That's
and there
fair
are
enough.
more important things in life than... Actually, the thing I was working on probably wasn't more important. But anyway, yeah.
I honestly believe the thing you were working on probably was more important than the debate, but that's okay. I want to do something a bit unusual.
Yes.
I want to start by not talking about the debate, but talking about the last one, not the last debate, the last town hall. Because these things are normally really not very useful. But I actually thought the last week, the two town halls actually showcased some elements.
I think Chaz might be in a distinct minority here, but
Maybe,
not for the first time.
Let me try some of these out on you and see what you think.
Okay.
Firstly, I feel like I saw the worst answer of any question asked to any contender for the presidency ever.
Right. Okay. What was that? Well, that's okay. Chaz is making a huge call here.
We can all be the judge. Dr. Dave?
Yes.
This was Donald Trump's answer to the question about why he retweeted the Osama bin Laden Falconer clip. Okay. And this
to entertain the Peppers, maybe? Hello?
Well, maybe. Let's hear what he had to say.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves.
You're
I don't
the
take a
president.
position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet. And I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, if I didn't have social media, I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. And the word is false. And you know what the word is? The word is very simple. We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been before. And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions for you.
We're winning in a lot of states. Okay. We're winning in a lot of states. You're going to see that.
Okay,
well, that was incredible. I mean, I would, I need to see what candidates like Alf Landon and, William Jennings Bryan said in response to questions before we definitively affirm that as the worst of all time. But it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was a three-part answer.
Yes.
Why did you retweet this, send this out about bin Laden still being alive and Obama murdering SEAL Team 6?
Yeah.
First of all, because it was a retweet.
Yes.
Secondly, because I do a lot of retweets. And thirdly, because we're building our country bigger and stronger than it's ever been before.
That's the message. That's the word.
That's why.
The word is,
Yeah.
I've got a couple of observations to make on that.
Sure, please.
I would actually say that the interviewer was not correct when she said, you're not someone's crazy uncle. He
definitely is.
He's Mary Trump's crazy uncle. That's the subject of an entire book.
Yes.
But I've just put two and two together. Is this why Twitter actually changed the functionality of its retweet button?
To stop Trump.
Well, So now when you retweet on Twitter, it actually goes straight to the quote tweets option. Now you still can retweet, but this might be one of these things that it does to try to make people think before they retweet stuff. Same as when you're retweeting an article. So I was like retweeting my own article in the conversation this week, and this notice comes up saying, there's more to the story than meets the headline. Are you sure you don't want to read this before you retweet it?
You probably should have.
Well, yeah, probably.
But I mean,
did Twitter do that because of Trump?
It's possible, but I feel like Trump would just retweet that video with the comment, we're building our country bigger and stronger than it's ever been before.
But I mean, this is interesting. So now that you have to hit the retweet button twice, they've just doubled the President of the United States' entire workload.
I would love to see the numbers on his retweet. As a result, wouldn't it be funny if they just dropped right off a cliff?
But I do love I do a lot of retweets.
Yeah.
Like I took a friend of mine to task on this once who was retweeting stuff that was false. And he said, well, I don't have time to fact check every tweet. I think if you're retweeting something, you do have that responsibility.
I feel like if you're the president, you do.
Yeah.
But by the way, those of you who are wondering why am I playing this for, I said this was so revealing. I thought this was good because apart from that, it just makes good conversation.
Yes.
I also like the fact that to me demonstrates that Trump will literally never take a backward step on any question whatsoever. If ever there was something where he could have said, yeah, I retweeted it, but I didn't watch it properly and whatever, sorry. He could have easily done that. No skin off his nose. But no, he doubled down and tried to justify it without coming up with anything. But that was better to him than just saying, my bad, let's move on.
We are definitely getting the message out that we're building the country up stronger, bigger than ever by retweeting the Falconer.
Secondly, this is also from Trump's town hall.
Yeah.
I think I saw the answer. People have been asking, why can't interviewers hold Trump's feet to the fire?
Yes.
When he spins bullshit, just go, no. Here's the question.
Yes, yeah.
Answer it. And then if he spins bullshit again, no. Here's the question. Answer it. Someone tried that. Savannah Guthrie tried it.
Okay.
I want you to see the results.
Okay.
This is the reason why you can't beat Trump in an interview by being a real journalist. Here we go.
Your first positive test was Thursday, October 1st, okay? When was your last negative test? When did you last remember having a negative test?
Well, I test quite a bit, and I can tell you that before the debate, which I thought it was a very good debate, and I felt fantastically. I had no problem before.
Did you test the day of the debate?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I test all the time. But I can tell you this. After the debate, like I guess a day or so, I think it was Thursday evening, maybe even late Thursday evening, I tested positive. That's when I first found out about it.
Well, back to the debate, because the debate commission's rules, it was the honor system, would be that you would come with a negative test. You say you don't know if you got a test on the day of the debate?
I had no problem. Again, the doctors do it. I don't ask them. I test all the time, and
did you take a test, though, on the day of the debate?
You know, if you ask the doctor, they'll give you a perfect answer. But they take a test, and I leave, and I go about my business.
Did you take a test on the day of the debate, I guess, is the bottom line?
I probably did, and I took a test the day before and the day before, and I was always in great shape. And I was in great shape for the debate. And it was only after the debate, like a period of time after the debate, that I said, that's interesting, and they took a test, and it tested positive.
So just to button it up, do you take a test every single day?
No, but I take a lot of tests.
Okay, and you don't know if you took a test the day of the debate?
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't.
For those keeping count, 7 times she asked him when his last negative test was and if it was on the day of the debate. 7 times. And she still never got more than possibly not.
Yeah.
It is impossible to make him answer a question he doesn't want to answer. Like, I mean, you might say there's some value in that, spending 2 minutes ascertaining that he's not going to answer the question. I'm not sure there is. I don't know what the answer is.
We are noticing now, so Leslie Stahl's interview with him on 60 Minutes, which the bits of that are filtering out now from Trump, is kind of the same. And I think journalists now are moving to this point where they don't just move on with the pre-planned set of questions. They will actually try to, just keep him there. So they obviously see some value in that.
7 times, sure.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I don't think you should just let him get away with bullshit and just move on.
No.
I think 2 or 3 times, sure,
Yes.
but I
Yeah.
feel like you could ask him 20 times and he will still keep on going. Possibly
Probably.
yes, possibly no.
Yeah.
But anyway, I also thought there was something interesting from Biden's town halls as well, which was so far. Do you agree that was interesting? Those 2 things, kind of,
Yeah.
kind of, maybe.
As far as these things go.
Secondly, okay, with Biden, I thought we saw 2 of his weaknesses that don't get enough credit. Well, not credit, recognition.
Right.
And I thought they were both clear in this debate,
Okay.
this town hall. The first one is, in my view, Biden does a bit of homespun remedies that don't make sense as well, just like Trump does. Like they both do it, and Trump gets nailed for it, or he's criticized for it, and Biden does not. And I'll give you a perfect example, in my view, from the town hall.
You have to teach people how to de-escalate circumstances. De-escalate. So instead of anybody coming at you and the first thing you do is shoot to kill, you shoot them in the leg.
Okay. What you just said then was to de-escalate situations for the police. What they should do is, rather than shooting people in the chest, they should shoot them in the leg.
Right.
I can assure you that no one has ever suggested that to Joe Biden. No expert has ever suggested that, because it makes absolutely no sense. Not only is that hardly a de-escalation to shoot someone in the leg, but secondly, the chance of hitting them in the leg is basically 0.
Yes, I have heard police are basically trained fire at the largest target.
Absolutely.
available. Yes.
Like police are lucky to hit 50-50 if they aim right in the middle of your tummy, let alone a moving leg or a moving arm.
But yeah, it's de-escalate.
Yeah.
Want another one in the leg?
Exactly.
Want one in the other leg?
And what's most likely to happen when you miss them is you'll hit someone else, because bullets have this tendency to keep on traveling. Right?
Yeah, okay.
And on top of that, if you
Yes.
do get them in the leg, you know what they're going to do? There are 2 options. You either bleed them out immediately and they'll die anyway because you get an artery,
Yeah.
or you just piss them off and they're going to charge twice as hard then. What are you doing? So anyway, my point is that doesn't get criticized. He does that kind of shit all the time. So that's point 1. Point 2.
Hang on. Are you really saying there's an equivalence between him making a statement that is just basically a completely unworkable fantasy policy, which I've heard plenty of people make that claim before. Yes, it's unrealistic. Between that and, Trump refusing to say whether he put a lot of other people's health at risk.
I'm not making an equivalence. Well, okay. I'm trying not to get hung up on the specific example you gave of Trump.
Yeah.
I think Trump says many, many, many more insane things than what I just played from Joe Biden.
Right.
I'm not saying they are equal in any respect. What I'm saying is that when Trump comes up with these stupid homespun remedies like bleach or UV light and stuff to deal with the COVID, we all laugh. When Joe Biden comes up with his stupid homespun remedies, it just flies past. That's what I'm saying.
Again, Chads.
Yeah.
Biden saying, you should shoot someone in the leg. I'm not surprised that's not getting a lot of airplay compared to Trump suggesting that you should inject sunlight or bleach.
I understand what you're saying.
Biden just gave a bad answer that shows
But it's not one answer. He's done that. I've seen that happen 3 times. That's what he actually thinks is the solution to escalation. Like it's not off the cuff. That's one of his prepared answers. That's okay.
Also, what interviewer actually is aware of how problematic that answer
I don't
is?
expect the interviewer to pull him up on it. The experts, the interviewer is not an expert. She's not a police officer. I'm just saying that this is a tendency Biden also has, which we should just be ready for, because we may be about to have 4 years of this. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You didn't watch the debate, so we probably shouldn't talk about the debate. Besides, we talked about the debate for half an hour on the show.
Right.
If you want to hear about the debate, you should go to the Friday. Not the Friday. Is it Friday? Yeah, the Friday Fireside Chat.
Yes.
We talked about it for half an hour. Let's talk about the last couple of days has been a lot on election interference.
Yes.
There's been Ratcliffe, there's been the FBI, there's Russia stuff, Iran stuff.
Yeah.
This all links in somehow to the Hunter Biden laptop as well. Is that election interference? Is that not election interference? There's a lot of election interference talk.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, yesterday the FBI announced very dramatically at about 7 p.m. US time. So that was, I think, coming up to 11 in the morning here, that there was going to be a press conference about an election security issue, urgent press conference at 7:30 that night. And everyone on Twitter was like, oh, shit. If they're just calling it like this, not anything that can wait, no planning, anything, like it must be something really, really big. Now, it wasn't. Okay, so first of all, even though it was an FBI press conference, yes, it was Ratcliffe, the Director of National Intelligence, bit of a shady guy, frankly. But so he was giving the press conference, and it was just kind of weird. So they were saying both Iran and Russia have been obtaining voter registration information and have been misusing it.
Yes.
And they were specifically talking about something the Iranians had done, purportedly, which has already been reported on by the Washington Post. Now, what they're supposed to have done is to have contacted email, I think, Democratic Party voters and say, we are the Proud Boys.
Yes.
Change your vote to President Trump or we'll
get you.
We will get you.
Yes.
And Ratcliffe said, this is clearly designed to damage President Trump. Now, that was a bit of a head scratcher for a lot of people because this appears to be a voter intimidation effort towards Democrats. But it is fairly well known, and I could definitely accept that Iran wants Trump not to get reelected. So what's going on here? Maybe was it by making the Proud Boys look bad because they're Trump allies? This is stirring up the idea that the Proud Boys are really active. I can potentially see that. Or it could just be the general sowing discord, creating chaos thing.
Yeah, it could conceivably be making the Proud Boys look like they did something bad so people then criticise the right for it. Conceivably. Yeah. But I mean, if it's anything, you would have thought it'd be more just creating chaos generally.
Yeah. Now, okay, so that was a bit of a dud announcement to begin with. But to make it even more dud, we're not talking about information that was hacked. Right? The voter register information is all over the place. You can buy it. It's sitting on all kinds of databases. It's not clear how they got it, but it probably wasn't through a hack.
Is it just voter registration information that they received? I mean, I
think so.
Because John Ratcliffe may be a joke, but Christopher Wray is not. And so for him to be standing up in this press conference saying, "We've got a problem," you think he might be a joke as well?
I just think he's, under a lot of pressure at the moment. Like every day, Trump is demanding to know why he hasn't started arresting people or why he hasn't announced an investigation into Joe Biden. And so maybe he thought, by doing this bullshit press conference, maybe that'll take some of the pressure off. So, and I think that we're talking about something like 2,500 voters.
Something like that
were targeted. There have been 5 million election ads screened on TV. Like, how much do they think an election interference effort targeting 2,500 voters is actually going to influence?
This is the argument that was used by the right in 2017 when talking about the Russian interference in 2016.
Look, I'm increasingly agreeing with this argument.
I always agreed with it. I think it's a fair argument.
I wasn't aware that they'd even made the argument in 2017. I mean, same with Russian disinformation. Like, yes, it's going on, but they're talking about, creating a Facebook page that, 15,000 people saw this. But all of this is so trivial compared to American-made disinformation about the election, starting with Trump. Like everything that Trump said about mail ballots, every time he tweets, mail ballots are going to be fraudulent, that's 87 million people that goes to. When he says in a debate that they found a lot of ballots in a river, 90 million people see that. Fox News amplifies this stuff further. QAnon is involved with massive levels of election-related disinformation, so much so that Facebook and Twitter are actually taking serious action against it. That's all homegrown US. Like, I haven't really seen any... I haven't seen any suggestion that that's foreign disinformation. It's just the scale of foreign disinformation is so trivial compared to the scale of American disinformation. With one exception, you know which country really is doing a big foreign disinformation effort that is actually registering?
What's that?
Australia.
How's that?
Because...
Are you talking about our show?
Rupert Murdoch owns the New York Post.
Yeah.
The editor of the New York Post that he brought back for this election, Cole Allen, is Australian.
Are you calling Rupert Murdoch Australian?
True. Devine, who amplifies a lot of this stuff, definitely Australian.
Yeah, that's fair.
And when Steve Bannon can't even get onto Fox News to peddle his bullshit, he goes to talk on Sky News to Sharry Markson. Sharry Markson, who was used earlier this year to launder a story about the Wuhan lab theory, right? She was given this sheet of information by someone, supposedly, it's this secret dossier on the Wuhan lab theory.
Yep.
Turned out it was all publicly available information from news broadcasts and none of it was true. So that could then go back to Fox. Oh, look, the Australians have got this information. Steve Bannon goes on Sky like, Australian media is reporting on this stuff. Like, Australian disinformation is more significant than Russian or Iranian disinformation.
Saying we're number one?
That's the call.
Is that what you're saying, we're number one?
That is the call that I am making. And I know that Rupert Murdoch is a US citizen now.
Number one? We're number one?
No, America's number one.
Number two?
Yeah.
Oi, oi, oi!
Okay.
Aussie!
Okay.
I'm so proud. Look,
and yes, Rupert Murdoch is an American citizen now. That doesn't make him not Australian. And the extent to which he draws on Australian networks and his, ownership of Australian media to fight this campaign, Australian disinformation.
Yeah, look, that's fair. I agree with that. I was going to say, I couldn't agree more with the idea of the fact there are literally billions of pieces of disinformation generated by Americans during an election campaign, probably tens of billions of misinformation. And these Russian Facebook pages from 2016 were just dwarfed.
I get why they're sensitive about foreign interference.
Sure, but
come on. But also to make an argument that's often made on the, we've had the right-wing argument, which is correct. Here's the left-wing argument, which is also correct. Yeah. Ever heard of a place called Bolivia? U.S. election interference
that's true.
In other
that's
countries is foreign policy.
That point was also made by the right in 2017. yes. No, that is true. And I should say, by the way, when I'm saying that, I'm not discounting the effect of WikiLeaks and some of the
another Australian.
That's true. Like some of the hacking operations.
Well, I wasn't even thinking of WikiLeaks.
But the social media aspect I thought was always way overplayed of the Russian internet factory in 2016.
The Russian internet factory. Yeah, because there was plenty of that stuff going on in the US.
Yeah. Just our Facebook page alone that you might be watching this podcast on has more disinformation every day than was in that whole trove of Russian Facebook pages. We have so much crap in the comments.
I notice
of our page.
It increases as the week goes on.
Yeah. Also, when I'm not moderating so much because I'm working on the show. Also, as it gets close to an election, they get a bit crazy as well. I don't need to tell you guys that. You know that, people who are following this. Okay. Well, let's talk about one aspect of that, which is the Hunter Biden thing. Yes. I don't want to go into detail because there's just so much shit flying around about that moment.
Yes.
So much of it is unverifiable, whatever. But I just want to talk from sort of 10,000 feet.
Yes.
Because the whole week has elapsed.
10,000 feet over Hunter Biden. Yes.
So that's enough feet over Hunter Biden, I feel. Okay. What do we know? We know, at the very least, one email seems to be correct. It seems to be accurate, which is the one about the 2017 Chinese email where Joe, the big guy, gets 10% of the cut of whatever they've got. That seems to be authentic because Fox authenticated it with the recipients, the other recipients in the email. There were two other recipients and they authenticated it with both of them. So at least that appears to be a real email, right? They were Hunter Biden's business partners who verified that email was accurate. We know that. That's one email. We know the FBI has a laptop. At least the FBI says they have the laptop.
Mm-hmm.
We know that at least as far as the DNI, the FBI, and the DOJ goes, it wasn't an active Russian disinformation operation,
Right, yep.
which doesn't mean it wasn't a Russian operation, because you could have hacked information placed on a laptop, which isn't disinformation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it also doesn't mean that the laptop wasn't a local operation. Like, it doesn't mean that it's Hunter Biden's laptop. It could still be, you can hack from America, like we just said.
Yes.
You can have fraud in America. Russians aren't the only fraudulent people on earth. So, and Ratcliffe, to his credit, given that we've just criticized him, he did specifically say that in the interview when he said, this is not Russian disinformation. He said, we don't know about fraud. We don't know about, this is not our area.
Right.
But so I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, but it doesn't mean it's clean and it's perfect, but at least intelligence agencies don't believe it's Russian disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the social media effort to block the story is not working at all. We know that.
Well, they gave up on it pretty quickly.
They did. But even when it was in action, like at the time, the shares doubled the moment the block went on. Now that went from 5,500 shares every 15 minutes to 10,000 shares every 15 minutes at the moment. But like that might have been a coincidence. That might have been just at the time when it was blowing up. Yeah. But still, it is a funny coincidence. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it turned out to be the second biggest story. The second biggest story of the week, I believe. No. It was the biggest story of the week. It was more than double the next biggest story on social media of that week involving Trump and Biden. Mm-hmm. The second biggest story was Facebook and Twitter's response to the story. So they were the two biggest stories. And 5 of the top 10 biggest stories of last week was about the Hunter Biden thing. So on social media. So it definitely got out there. We know one more thing.
What's that?
We know that Trump can't pronounce the word Burisma.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. A real beautiful company.
I love when Trump doesn't know how to pronounce something and pretends that that's the way you're supposed to pronounce it, because he can't bear to admit error.
Yes.
He screws up. He goes, it's the weather was Sunni. You know, they say Sunni in these parts. It was Sunni, and he says like 5 times to he thinks that people won't realize he's screwed up. But anyway, he can't pronounce Burisma. So we know that. I'm not sure we know too much more. Oh, yeah, we know Peter Schweitzer is all over Bevan Cooney, who is one of Hunter Biden's colleagues.
Right.
He's a disgruntled colleague who's in jail and gave Peter Schweitzer basically keys to his email and said, do what you like with that. So Peter Schweitzer is a real journo. He might be a partisan journo, but he's a real journo. So if there's anything there, you know it's coming out. But so far there isn't much other than at one point in time.
The Wall Street Journal, their reporters looked at the emails and said Joe Biden's got nothing to do with it.
This is which email is this though? Because that's the thing. There's so many different emails.
So many different emails.
No, it's just people just confusing everything like they always do with these kinds of stories. Which one was it? Was this the other guy, the other business partner?
Tobolensky.
Yeah, that guy.
Yes,
was that guy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So tell me about that because I don't know. Much
Yes.
about
So this was because Kim Strassel on the Wall Street Journal's editorial page wrote something about this. Basically, then the Wall Street Journal actual journalists fact-checked it. Now, we've talked before about the difference between Wall Street Journal reporting, which is consistently excellent and held to very high standards of rigor, and the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which is the loosest show in town.
Yes.
And Tony, sorry, I think I'm mispronouncing his name. I don't want to do a Trump here. No. Tobolensky.
That's how they tell you to pronounce it, though.
Yeah. So he was brought along as a prop to the debate tonight by.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
By Donald Trump. Yes.
Why did they do that?
Yeah, and said, I didn't like the fact that Joe Biden was denying that he had any knowledge. And, here are emails, but the Wall Street Journal reporters looked through the emails and said, no, there's nothing here that actually involves Joe Biden at all.
Okay.
But Tobolensky is saying he's claiming that he had a meeting and that the reference was made to Joe Biden in that meeting.
But we should be clear here.
Yeah.
That even if I mean, I'm glad to know that.
Yes,
But
yeah.
even if Joe Biden did know about something, and
Yeah.
I find it pretty easy to believe that he would, to be honest.
Mm.
So what? That
Yeah.
means he's lying to Pete Ducey when he said he has no knowledge. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what he's guilty of, lying to Pete
Also,
Ducey.
this was a deal that nothing ever happened
Yeah. Like
with it.
Like to me, there's just so much confusion going on.
Yeah.
Where they're confusing whether he's in office or out of office.
Yeah.
Whether he's the one doing the deals or Hunter's doing the deals.
Yeah.
Whether it's illegal or not illegal. Like at the moment, the worst case scenario is that he is essentially like Trump, that he does dodgy deals.
Yeah.
That's the worst accusation at the moment. But it's I don't know. I just feel like
This is why I think this story is not actually getting that much traction, despite the fact that, the way that it's circulated in the right-wing world. It just seems to be getting absolutely no traction.
I think it's getting a lot less than the Hillary emails did. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's and that's because mainstream media hasn't jumped in with it.
Well, nor should they. I mean, first of all, there's just so much. As you said, we really don't know what's going on here, and given the amount of noise that's every day something new is being trumpeted by the New York Post, which just turns out to be absolutely nothing. I really don't blame the media for just steering well clear of this.
I should say one thing before I pick up on what you just said there, which
Yeah.
is I just want to just make one point, which is what they're trying to get going.
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully, I think.
Yes.
Well, no, not I think. I know.
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully. They're trying to get an underground whisper campaign going about child porn.
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
That's what they're trying to do.
It's not even underground.
Yeah.
Like, Donald Trump Jr. is saying, he's connected to child trafficking and pedophile rings.
And I'm not sure you saw the interview. Like, some people have attributed it to Ron Johnson. I think it's really unfair. Ron Johnson was being interviewed by Maria Bartiromo.
Yeah.
And that was appalling interviewing. She was desperate for him to make the child porn connection. Like, she was doing this whole, now the FBI agent who had the subpoena for the drive, he's only worked in child pornography for the last 25 years. What conclusions would you draw from that? And Ron Johnson's just given her nothing. And then she goes, but the FBI agent's only been working in child pornography. Do you think there might be any connection to child pornography? And Ron Johnson's like, well, there's a whole lots of questions that have to be answered, and then Ron Johnson cops the shit for it. No, Maria Bartiromo, she should be pulled off air. That was terrible. But anyway,
Well, I think it's been established well beyond doubt that she's terrible.
yeah. But anyway, let's leave that aside because I just want to say, sorry, the reason I brought that up was not to spread the rumor myself. It's because
I think that's another good reason for the rest of the media to avoid it.
Yeah, this might be an area where we disagree. I feel like when there's a bullshit story that's out there, and you can't stop it being out there, you should cover it, but you should just explain very clearly why it's bullshit, and that's what some people fall down on. So in this case here, I'm going to explain very clearly that the guy that the right are pinning this child porn thing on, that Mac Isaac guy, the computer dealer, specifically said he saw no child pornography on that laptop.
Okay, Chaz, you tell that story. You know what two words people hear? Child pornography.
I know, I understand.
Okay, there's a whole literature on this in political communications about the problems of correcting misinformation, right? And that is, you can't do it in most cases without repeating the misinformation.
That's true.
That is often what people hear. Now, you've said you can't stop this story from getting out there. Well, you actually, I mean, yes, it's very dramatic. 10,000 people are sharing it every minute. Like, yes, it's the people within the right-wing bubble who are on Facebook all day, who are constantly sharing this stuff and who are sending chain emails to their grandchildren who are ignoring it. The fact that it's circulating so much in the right-wing bubble does not mean that it's getting out there generally, if the rest of the media is ignoring it.
I reckon.
If the media, on the other hand, starts saying, there's this rumor about child pornography, which we're going to disprove, that does put it out there.
I reckon that you're underestimating how much spread there is these days. I think the horse is bolted on this. I mean, I agree with you. In theoretically, that if you have the option of of not even talking about something that's not true.
Yeah, yeah.
It is better to not talk about it than to talk about it and correct it. Obviously. Well, not obviously, but I do agree.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the horse is bolted. I think we are now in a media culture where there are no gatekeepers and things just get around and you can't stop them. And your options are, is someone going to rebut it or is no one going to rebut it? They're your two options. Like you might disagree with me. Maybe we're in a transition point where it hasn't quite happened yet, and it will happen in 4 years or 5 years. It's definitely the direction it's going. It's just a question of how far down the path we are. I think we are that far down the path. It's time to give up. You might not, but yeah, I think we'll all be agreed we're too far down that path in about 10 years' time, because or less, because we're moving down that path very rapidly.
Yeah, I disagree. I think in the same way that stuff often doesn't penetrate the right-wing bubble, the right-wing bubble often doesn't penetrate the rest of the world either.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying it always does. I'm saying when there's a story that size, I think it does. But anyway, I want to... by the way, I'll tell you how you can tell it's not working, though.
Yeah.
This is how you can tell it's not working.
So you're just about to argue my point.
No. I'm not. I'm saying it's not working.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's out there and not working.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How you can tell it's not working is that Fox News is trying to advise Trump to not go through with it. Fox News is trying to intervene. Like I've seen in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Steve Doocy, Karl Rove, Mark Thyssen, and they've played that Mark Thyssen clip. I've seen a number of times during the news. They quite like it. All saying the same
What
thing.
is it doing to you that you're watching this much Fox News?
Well, you can see what it does to me.
Don't need to, Chaz.
Well, I like to see what different people have to say about different things. But the weird thing is that all three of those people have been saying, and I'm sure there's more, have been saying this is a terrible idea. Trump, your only chance of winning this election is by getting the people who are doing well under your economy or under your country who dislike you and making them like you. And this will not make them like you.
No, why?
But at the same time as they're saying that, all the commentary guys at night, Hannity, Tucker, Ingraham, all going full steam ahead. And we know who he watches. He doesn't watch bloody Mark Thyssen and Karl Rove, right? In fact, Tucker's piece, I wrote this down, was actually about how all the most powerful people in America want Trump to shut up about Hunter. So he's actually put Karl Rove on the side of the bad guys when Karl Rove's desperately trying to help Trump win. Anyway, so I don't think this is working. But, here we go. Has Joe Biden, this is a poll for you, but to this point though, I think it has, I think at least perceived people's consciousness, because has Joe Biden been honest about his business activities? YouGov, 41 to 45, which is, that's partisan, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's a few independents in there. Independents, 34 to 46. So
hang on, which ways?
34, he has been honest. 46, he has not been honest about his business activities. That's independents. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk polling, shall we?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Okay, so we are seeing a little bit of a tightening this week, both at the national level and at the state level. I will say I'm expecting that we're going to see a lot of high-quality polls in key states next week. I would imagine so, because one of the mistakes that was made last time around was that some of those most important states were actually neglected. So if you're fretting that you haven't seen a high-quality poll from Michigan or Wisconsin or even Pennsylvania for a while, when we've seen a lot of polls, but not the sort of gold standard ones, don't worry, they'll be coming next week. Now, we are seeing a bit of tightening, which is to be expected, a bit of reversion to the mean after the absolute horror run of news that Trump had a couple of weeks ago. So, according to Real Clear Politics, the national average is now about 8.9. According to 538, it's 9.9. We're seeing, so basically at this point, Iowa, Georgia, and Ohio are pretty much dead heats. You can't really, I think they're absolute coin flips at this point. So, Florida, Biden, I think, is slightly ahead.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah, judging by the polling that we're getting there.
I think it's like a point or two, basically.
Yeah. Pennsylvania, I think he is actually substantially ahead.
Wasn't that tightening in the last few days, Pennsylvania?
Tightening a bit, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking tightening down from 7 to 6 or 5. So now, once again, that does, you are beginning to get close to what the margin of polling error was last time.
And it's Pennsylvania that interests me the most.
Yeah. And I mean, Pennsylvania is so critical to this election. It's not entirely soothing news for Biden, let's put it that way. I mean, which is kind of insane. You would expect that just seeing so many polls that show Biden in the lead. I mean, it is actually really rare to see Trump in the lead in any poll. In any state, but you'll occasionally see him in front in Ohio. It is insane that just given the circumstances of what happened in 2016, given the whole margin of chicanery around this, given the advantages of the Electoral College, that everyone is so nervous. Given that objectively, just looking at it, it's basically good poll after good poll for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The 2016 factor, just the fact that the 2016 polls didn't close up until the last 3 or 4 days.
Yes,
means every time you compare to exactly 4 years ago, Hillary's either doing the same or better every single time.
Yeah, but of course, to point out the big differences we always point out.
We do.
We are looking at Biden on 51, 52. Doesn't matter how much they close.
Yes.
He's not going to lose from a late shift. The other thing is...
And Trump's the incumbent.
Yes.
I keep on saying that.
And Biden's approval rating is a lot higher than Clinton's ever was. And it doesn't look like third-party candidates are going to get many votes. So all of this suggests to me that basically it's all down to polling error. That's Trump's chances at this point are all based on the polls being wrong.
Well, I can tell you, having watched the debate, that I don't think the debate's going to make a difference.
No, debate's not going to shift it. It's hard.
I mean, Trump did fine. He did perfectly fine. But it just takes an enormous amount to shift polls in a third debate.
Yeah.
And I don't think that
Trump's not going to shift it. The Hunter Biden bullshit isn't going to shift it. In the entire time that story's been out, we've seen maybe a 1 point, and which we were expecting to happen anyway.
I'm going to throw some alternative measures at you rather than poll numbers.
Okay.
Things I've seen. And I used some of these on the Friday Fireside Chat. Okay. I'm sorry for the people who just came.
Are you also obsessively reading stories about how Trump could still win? Because I read every one of those stories that I see.
I have been reading a few of them. I'm not finding much as convincing, I have to say.
No.
But this is not a skeptic's corner thing. This is just some alternative measures, which seemed interesting to me.
Okay.
And I apologise to people who just came from the Friday Fireside Chat. I did use 2 of these on the Friday Fireside Chat. And recycling, just because I think these are really good.
Self-plagiarism.
Number 1.
Yes.
There are apparently, I would like to send you actual numbers, but I'll believe the New York Times. There are apparently more down ballot races right now.
Yes.
Where Republicans are running attack ads against Democrats, where they compare those Democrats to Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
Than to Joe Biden. That is a sign that Joe Biden is really not hated.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
That's amazing.
The second thing, I'm not sure if you saw the financial disclosure figures earlier in the week, but there was a number that jumped out at me, and it wasn't the number of dollars raised.
Yes.
It was that Trump during the last quarter spent 70 cents of each dollar it received on future fundraising efforts.
Wow.
So 70 cents, 77 cents of each dollar was spent just getting that next dollar. Right? For the entire campaign, he's been spending 47 cents per dollar raised. So he's running out of gas.
Yeah.
He's pumping his.
Admittedly, that's good compared to most of his business career, which
That's
was more
true.
like spending $10 for every
That's true.
dollar. Yeah,
That's true. He's pumping his supporters hard to get money out of them. Joe Biden, by contrast, 17 cents for every dollar he's spending. So he's finding it a lot easier to get small donations out of people. That to me is a sign.
That is a sign.
An amusing sign that things are closer in Georgia than we might think is the way David Perdue humiliated himself on the campaign trail. I'm not sure if you've seen this. This is telling me that David Perdue's in a bit of trouble. He's resorting to this shit.
Okay.
And Kamala or Kamala, I don't know. Whatever.
When he's pulling out the I can't say Kamala Harris's name, you know he's really struggling for the base. He's just trying to get out the guy knows how to say her name. He's been her colleague for the last 2 years.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So some people are going, oh, it's so racist, that's so awful. Obviously it is racist, but to me, it's just more telling that he is fucking toast. That doesn't mean he's going to lose. It just means he's really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
When he needs we shouldn't have to pronounce their fucking names.
That's right. So I just flagged that. By the way, on the spending, there's just a few random things. I'm not sure if you saw those. Did you see those financial disclosure figures?
No, I didn't.
There was so much grift in Trump's campaign. If you're wondering where the $1 billion went, let me tell you some of the places the $1 billion went. Yes. Okay. $39 million has been paid to firms controlled by Brad Parscale.
Wow.
$273 million was paid to a group called American-Made Media Consultants, whose owners are not publicly disclosed, and it's not clear what they do. Jesus. And it's a small figure, but still telling. $100,000 spent on copies of Donald Trump Jr.'s book, Triggered.
Oh, my God.
$7.4 million spent at Trump-branded properties. $35 million spent on Trump merchandise. $38 million spent on legal and compliance fees. That's for Trump's legal.
Trump Jr.'s book. What an absolute.
And this is another small number, but this is my personal favorite. $912,000 spent on ads that ran on the personal Facebook pages of Brad Parscale and Katrina Pearson.
That's amazing.
That's so obviously hand in the cookie jar. So anyway, if you're wondering where the money went, that's where the money went.
Yeah, that is... That's pretty fucked.
That's why he needs to raise 77 cents in the dollar for all his money. Okay. Oh, yeah. This is just a random poll. It's not about when we're talking polling before we move on to Skeptics Corner.
Yes.
39% of Fox News viewers say that QAnon is somewhat or very good for the country. 39%.
Okay.
50% of Trump supporters believe that Democrats are involved in child sexual trafficking rings. 50%, and 52% say that Trump is combating those child sex trafficking rings. 50% of Trump supporters now.
Yeah,
so that's a big number.
I mean, admittedly, this has been controversial. There's going to be a lot of controversy for a long time about how you should actually poll this, right? So there's been a whole range of polls on QAnon, from the sort of extremely vague, like, do you agree with QAnon, to yes, the extremely specific. Now, there are both scientific and ethical problems with all of these polls, and I'm not suggesting better ways of I'm just saying it's impossible to actually ask about this without raising both scientific and ethical questions. So if you actually are putting the specifics of the QAnon conspiracy theory in the poll, then, polling, responding to a poll is an act of political expression. Right. So if you see a question that you think answering it a certain way basically expresses your beliefs, you're often going to, saying, I think QAnon's that's a way of saying that, Democrats suck. I don't like them. It's not necessarily something that you deeply believe. I remember coming across this first back in the 2000s when looking at the number of Republicans consistently, when asked to choose Barack Obama's religion from a menu, would pick Islam. Yeah. That didn't necessarily mean they thought that Barack Obama was a Muslim. That was just a way of saying, I think Obama sucks. So it's, and then, ethically, like, is it even ethical to say to people, to actually put the conspiracy theory out there and say, do you agree with it? Don't know.
You'll be unsurprised to hear where I stand.
Yes,
on that.
yeah, no, I won't. So we're not even going to go there. But anyway, but this is just a way of saying QAnon. It is very difficult to poll this stuff. Every time a new poll comes out, I see the whole polling community arguing online about how they should be polling it. There is a bit of sort of crowdsourcing of questions being done now about how to do it, but yeah. So it is going to continue to be a very difficult area to poll. Just before we go back to Skeptics Corner, though, I want to go back to something you said earlier about the desperate desire to be running against Hillary Clinton again. It is just, I mean, I saw someone tweeted like any Trump story that goes for a sufficient length of time comes back to nostalgia about running against Hillary Clinton and beating Hillary Clinton. The very fact that they're returning to the sort of specific form of what sunk Clinton, which was emails.
Yes,
like this decision has been made. Yeah. It's emails. Emails is what people care about. Get the name emails out there. Yeah. And, of course, the desperation for 2 years to get some investigation into Joe Biden announced. Once again, coming back to the belief, which is correct, that that's what sunk Clinton. If you announce an investigation into someone, preferably by someone with some independent clout, so first of all trying to get the Ukrainians, then trying to get Christopher Wray, William Barr, and Bill Durham, like then that will make an impact. Of course, that hasn't panned out, so instead we have to go to Rudy. But it really is this desperate desire to be running against Clinton again. And I remember earlier in the year we were talking about the number of just ridiculous op-eds you'd read by right-wing figures saying, oh, looks like the Democrats are about to dump Biden and put Clinton in instead.
They're still doing it. They're still doing it. I got sent one of them the other day, like because of Hunter Biden. Oh, they're going to replace, as if.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is amazing. And it goes to what we were saying last week. People just don't seem to get you can only fight these wars once. The whole society moves on. It immunizes itself against the bullshit the second time round.
Yeah.
So just don't do it. Do you have any Skeptics Corner?
Any Skeptics Corner. It is interesting that there is still, when you ask people who they think is going to win the election, you've got very, very tight answers there. It is that's usually close to 50-50. Yeah. Which is interesting in itself because that's usually considered a fairly good predictor of how the election's going to go.
Until recently, Trump was ahead on that.
Yeah,
so it's actually going against him.
Yes, yeah. So now I don't know whether this is just the whole country has that 2016 gun shyness or whether that is actually dredging up information that the polls are missing somehow.
It's possible.
But skepticism about skepticism, not even our good old friends Rasmussen and who was that guy you interviewed? Trafalgar,
Robert Cahaly.
Gravis,
Cahaly.
Even if you were just to take their polls now, I think Biden would actually be in a winning position.
Oh no, he's Robert Cahaly's got Trump winning. He's got Trump winning Michigan.
Really?
Yeah. He announced it last week. He said that he's got Biden winning Wisconsin, 50-50 on Pennsylvania, but Trump winning Michigan by 2 points. That's what he's got. So we'll see. That'd be quite a Michigan corner, wouldn't it?
That would be.
Well, actually, on this is kind of a bullshit skeptics corner. This one. No, I'm not commenting on what you just said. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying what I'm about to say.
Yes.
Biden campaign manager Jen O'Malley Dillon tried a similar kind of thing.
Right.
She did this little sort of YouTube call at a summit, where she was saying, the polling is really close. She's saying, quote, please take the fact we are not ahead by double digits. Those are inflated national public polling numbers. While we see robust leads at the national level, in the states we're counting on to carry us to victory, like Arizona and North Carolina, we're only up by 3 points. Now that is very compelling if you forget the fact that they're not relying on Arizona and North Carolina for victory.
And also, that's in the public polling.
Exactly. That is the public polling numbers. So it's a good try. She's trying to stop them getting overconfident, obviously, but that is not a legitimate skeptics corner, Jen O'Malley. Dylan, you need to up your game if you want to be on this podcast one day. Do you have any others?
Everyone's dream. No, not really. I mean, it is still interesting to consider the sort of the things that are a bit out of whack, like the fact that people's something we talked about last week, the fact that a lot of people feel that their lives have actually improved over the last 4 years, although the number of people saying the country's on the wrong track is just incredible.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, there is this real interesting disconnect between how people are reporting their own experiences and how they think the country is actually going.
Moving on to sort of the general campaign, but in a slightly skeptic-y way,
okay.
I do feel that the debut of Obama this week in Philadelphia suggested to me that the Biden campaign continues to be slightly nervous about the black male vote in particular.
Oh, yeah,
this is obviously the week that 50 Cent put out his anti-endorsement, which is a bit of a joke, but still, I think it's just one more. There's a lot of black men there are anti-endorsements out there these days.
Yes,
They have added up. I mean, just for those who didn't see it, googly eyes. What the fuck? Vote for Trump. I'm out. Fuck New York. The Knicks never win anyway. I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your fucking mind? What he's referring to there is the fact that it was like a NBC report, I believe.
Yeah.
That in New York City, you'll be paying 62% tax on the highest bracket. If under Biden, California, you'll be paying 62%. New Jersey, you'll be paying 60%. That is obviously because state taxes are high.
I can take a guess at what 50 Cent's preferred tax rate would be, given that he named himself after it.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, I will give Katrina Pearson, the grift-worthy Katrina Pearson, a little bit of credit that she did then tweet to him, I guess you don't want to be called, I guess you don't want to change your name to 20 Cent. I thought, that's okay. Which he then used as if he came up with it. But anyway, but I do think the black male thing is a thing, but although interestingly not the black female thing. It's I don't know. I don't think it's going to necessarily make a difference in the election, but I just flag it. That's all.
Oh, and once again, just Pennsylvania is everything.
Yeah, it is.
If Biden holds on to Pennsylvania, he wins.
And Philadelphia, the black vote was not great in 2016. So that's why I highlighted Philadelphia with Obama.
Yes.
You want to talk about the Get Out the Vote?
Yeah, so there was a very interesting Get Out the Vote event this week where Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, among others, got on a Twitch stream playing a game called Among Us, which I'd never heard of prior to this point. Yep. I imagine that most of our peppers, I don't want to make sort of unfair assumptions about the average age of our peppers, but I think it's not so much in the Twitch demographic.
They're very fresh and funky, aren't you?
Twitch, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, is a streaming platform. So, the video game culture now, it's not just all about playing against each other online. It's also about watching each other play online. And, esports is a huge industry now. So it's all related to this culture. And as well as, God, this is going to... My only comfort, no, I'm aware at this point, that if I were a school teacher telling kids about this, it would be, they would know so much more about this than I. And I'm aware I'm probably using terms that are completely, inappropriate. And so I'm not saying I'm part of this world. I don't know anything about this world. I've never been on Twitch, but it's just worth noting, as well as being a streaming platform, it is also a social media platform.
Okay.
And it's an important one for a lot of people. And those of you not familiar with these games that children and teenagers play, is they're as much a social hangout as they are an actual game. This is the social media of the emerging generation. So they're definitely going to an untapped market by...
An untapped market who don't vote?
Well, this is what I was wondering, because they're like, we got, hundreds of thousands of people on this stream. I don't know how many of them were actually over the age of 18.
Sure.
But...
Maybe it's early campaign for 2024.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though. It's like, you've got to... they are actually making a serious effort to go after the next generation of voters. Like, we may literally be talking about the next generation of voters here, like not a current generation of voters. But, they're doing it. It's It's smart.
Yeah.
And, we're really seeing the Democrats at the moment seem to have way more mastery of this aspect of politics, getting after the people who are in the lowest voting demographic and, in many cases can't even vote yet. Which is, it's not as if Republicans are lacking gamers in their base.
No, it's not. And I was being a bit of a smart ass in 2024, but Republicans have already started campaigning. We've been talking about Cotton and Hawley for the last year.
That's right,
And just this week, Ben Sass, inverted commas, leaked had it leak this phone call where he was dissing Trump for about half an hour.
Right.
And Larry Hogan just let it slip that he accidentally voted for Reagan instead of the moderates in the Republican are already starting to get out there. So there is 2024 beginning. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So
getting a head start there. Anyway, sorry if I sounded like a social sciences teacher circa 1996 trying to tell people about the internet, which is what I was worried I sounded like there. Yeah.
It's okay. We won't keep a copy of this. You know what we need now?
What?
Stats Nugget.
This is where we're talking, just before we move off polling completely.
Yeah.
In my view, the most worrying poll of the week. It was concerning in so many different ways. It's from PRRI.
Right.
They're good pollsters.
Yes,
right?
they are.
These are big sample sizes.
Yes.
Okay. It's a little bit complicated. When they asked these people whether it was a good idea to nominate a woman as a vice president.
Okay.
And then they asked people whether it was a good idea to nominate a black woman as a vice president.
Mm-hmm.
They compared the results.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so usually it was about the same number.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be unsurprised to hear Democrats thought it was a better idea and so forth. Like none of that was surprising.
Yes.
But generally the numbers were pretty high.
Right, yes.
All round. That was encouraging.
Yes.
This is what was interesting. Basically, all the groups were within 5 points of each other. Like, it's a good idea to have a woman. It's a good idea to have a black woman. We're within 5 points of each other, right? There was one group which had a 26-point gap where 62% of them said it was a good idea to nominate a woman, but only 36% of them said it was a good idea to nominate a black woman. Would you care to guess what that demographic is?
No, I don't care to guess. Just tell me.
The answer is black men. All other groups were right there, but black men were really, really against a black woman being VP, which was, as I say, discouraging. Another one from the same poll. They asked, when Americans speak up and protest unfair treatment by the government, it always makes our country better. Then they asked, when black Americans speak up and protest unfair treatment by the government, it always makes our country better. And they compared the responses there. This one was a little bit more predictable, the disappointing element. I won't ask you to guess. You will be able to guess.
Yes.
Now, generally speaking, Americans, 52% said the general was good. 47% said the black was good.
Right.
Which is slightly less, whatever.
Yes.
But Republicans were 25 percentage points less likely to say it was good when it was 49% the general, 24% black Americans. Amongst Republicans who trust Fox News, it was 47% the general, 10% black Americans. And for those following those numbers, 47, 49, 52, basically the general was pretty similar across the board. It was just the black specific where the numbers were very different. So anyway, that was a little stats nugget for you there.
Yes.
A depressing stats nugget.
Very depressing stats nugget.
Let's talk early voting.
It was a nugget that had been left in the deep fryer for too long.
Let's talk early voting. Because
Now,
let's go.
Do you find like every day when you look at this, it seems to have jumped by some incredible amount?
So much in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
It's been huge.
So,
should I give the
yes,
current
what is
numbers?
the current figure?
Okay, the current figure
Yes.
is Early votes, 47 million.
47 million.
33 million of them are mail ballots.
Yes.
That's 34% of the total votes counted in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 21% that have partisan registration results, Dems 51%, Republicans 26.6%, Independents 22%.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest states, the biggest swing states, the biggest relevant states.
Yes.
Texas 65% of the 2016 vote.
Amazing.
North Carolina 51% of the 2016 vote. Georgia 46%, Florida 44%, Michigan 39%, and Wisconsin 38%. Dr. Dave.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of remarkable things about this. One is, I swear a couple of days ago it was 27 million.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to Richard Glover about that, and now it's 47 million. Yeah. By the way, it's actually, when you count both the mail ballots and in-person vote, it's actually 38% of the entire vote last time around. Yep. The entire early vote last time around has already been surpassed, and there's still 10 days to go. So it is really remarkable. Now, it does have to be emphasised, there's still a limited amount that we can actually infer from this. Yes. Right. So some states do match up voters with the voter file, and those that do, it has been found that 1 in 5 of these votes is coming from someone who it didn't come from in 2016, but it's not clear whether that is someone who sat the last election out or whether it's a new voter or someone who's recently moved to the state or whatever. Gotcha. That's the only real piece of evidence, though, that this is a sign of increased turnout. My guess is it is going to be increased turnout.
Yeah, I think it will.
I think there is going to be significantly increased turnout, but we can't infer that definitely from this because it could just be these are cautionary measures that people are taking. They're cautionary measures because they're aware that there are going to be problems with the mail. It's cautionary measures because they're aware there could be intimidation efforts on election day or just a generally, bad atmosphere. Or they're aware that COVID-19 is definitely getting worse. Like we are definitely in a third wave now. Yep. And who knows what that is going to be like on election day. Who knows what the queues are going to be like on election day. You definitely can't read too much into the partisan advantage that Democrats have because of the fact that it was known that more Democrats were planning to vote early.
Well, I would say that actually corresponds with exactly the polls that we saw over the last few months.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you can't read too much into that. It is interesting to hear what I think is a rather dumb discourse about, Democrats are worried that this could be cannibalizing their election day vote. Like, why would you be worried?
Yeah.
Bird in the hand, 2 in the bush. Except in this case, it's bird in the hand or 1 in the bush. Like, a banked vote now is much better than a prospective vote.
Absolutely. And
on
also,
election day.
I'd add to that when the queues are shorter on election day, you're more likely to not have discouraged voters.
Exactly, yes. No, so it's you definitely want to get those votes in.
Oh, can I say one thing before I forget?
Yes, you certainly can. Yes. Say, Chaz. You look so excited.
Yeah, no, it's just something. It's just very. I wasn't going to bring this up, but it's just relevant to what you just said. Then we're talking about the long queues.
Yes,
there's something which I don't think people realise because I didn't realise it until a day ago.
Yes, what's that?
The reason why they have such long queues in America with their for when they vote on election day is because they can't go to. It's not like Australia. They can't go. They can't choose their location. They are assigned a voting location.
Yes. Yeah.
So when they get, which is just incredible. So if you're in this poor area and you don't have enough staff or whatever, I always think to myself, well, just go to the next location. They can't.
Yes.
They actually have to stay in that 7-hour line.
In some places anyway.
Yeah, which is just insane.
That's not the case in every state, but in a lot of places.
I just can't believe that. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Such an easy solution too. You just go, wow.
Yeah, no, that is
you have to work hard to be that shit.
Suppressive. Yes, exactly. As we've said before, it's not that Americans don't know how to run a good election. They do, which means they also know how to run a bad one, which they often do intentionally.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so I think, yes, there's limited tea leaf reading that you can do from the early voting, although my hunch is that this does actually suggest that there's going to be big turn. I mean, it's not just the early voting that suggests that. I think there's a lot of feeling around this election. People have lots and lots of feelings about
yes, they do.
About the election on both sides, which I think does suggest high turnout. But then again, I do think a lot of this is basically reflecting voter caution. Another thing that people have been trying to read way too much into is party registration.
Yes.
So it has been this phenomenon this year that Republicans have definitely outpaced Democrats in a lot of places.
In the critical states.
In a lot of, Pennsylvania, Florida, in party registrations. However, historically, that is not correlated with the vote.
Yeah. West Virginia has
Yes.
overwhelming majorities of Democrats registered.
Exactly.
And it's not a Democrat state.
Exactly, yes. This is what we're actually seeing is that people's party identification is becoming realigned with their party registration. Yeah, West Virginia, Louisiana, Kentucky, those were like the three biggest Democratic registered states for a long time. I think I've mentioned that before on the podcast. So, yes, a lot of that registration is, people actually aligning their vote with their registration. The other thing is it's to do with the primaries as well. So because Democrats actually had competitive primaries early in the year, there was a lot more Democratic registration happening last year so that people would be able to vote in those primaries. Republicans didn't have a competitive primary, so that wasn't happening that time around, so we're seeing more of it this time around.
That's a good point. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
Good one. Nice
Yes.
one. That's why you're a doctor.
So, registration, you should not read too much into that.
No. Okay. While we're talking about these kinds of issues, these early voting type issues, let's do my usual mail-in voting check-in.
Okay.
I saw an interesting article, I think it was Reuters, where they went through the 9 biggest blue shift states, the states where we can most expect there to be a blue shift on election day.
Yep.
They weren't very transparent about their methodology here, but I'll just share it with you because it's interesting. What they did share was the spread between the partisan polling of people who said they would vote before the election versus on election day.
Right. Yes.
And I'll tell you what those spreads were. The 9 states were Nevada, 62-point spread. Ohio, 55-point spread. Michigan, 55-point spread. Wisconsin, 43-point spread. Pennsylvania, 36-point spread. North Carolina, 29-point spread. New Hampshire, 27-point spread. Texas, 22-point spread. And Alaska, 16-point spread. So when I'm saying those, so they're the states where we could expect Trump to be ahead on the day,
right,
or at least early on the day, and then Biden to come back.
Okay,
that's so. Just I'll just put that out there. I'll probably mention on the show as well. That's right. I want to talk about the court briefly with this Pennsylvania case.
Yes,
because this is all moving towards the lawsuit that I'm feeling very Cassandra about.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I continue to hope that Pennsylvania is not close because I don't want this lawsuit.
No,
but if it is close, this is so going to be the lawsuit. Right? They tied for all the Supreme Court on whether to allow the Pennsylvania Republicans the petition to stop absentees being counted past Election Day. So these are the ones that are mailed out before Election Day, but they arrive after Election Day.
Yes.
Now, we just got done last week talking about how Kavanaugh is all about respecting the legislature.
Yes.
And he overruled.
Right.
But there is a reason why. It's actually consistent because he overruled the court. The legislature's Republican in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
and in fact, this is kind of the issue in that there seems to be what the Republicans were arguing was a new kind of argument that because the American Constitution says that state legislatures determine voting laws for federal elections, the state Supreme Court, under their argument, has no right to weigh in, even when it's ruling on how state law or the state constitution applies. That's their argument. It just so happens that For All was on that argument before Amy Coney Barrett shows up. So it could well be 5-4 in favor of that argument.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you why that's so important. It's not because of the lawsuit. I'm gone past the lawsuit now.
Yeah.
Even though that is about the lawsuit. They will win the lawsuit with those numbers. It's about past the lawsuit. It's about independent redistricting commissions.
Right.
Because back in 2015, there was a court case about Arizona's commission.
Yes.
And they used the same argument.
Oh, okay.
They used the same argument saying that the legislature had to draw these boundaries in a partisan way, and independent redistricting group would deprive the state legislature of what constitutionally was granted to them. And that argument lost 5-4 in 2015. Anthony Kennedy was the fifth vote. Okay, Anthony Kennedy's been replaced by Justice Kavanaugh, who just endorsed that theory. That's 5-4 the other way. Justice Roberts dissented.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but on that one there in
Yes,
2015 as well. Okay, but so assuming that Justice Roberts continues with that dissent. No, that 5-4 that would make him 6-3. That would make it 6-3 because Justice Roberts was on the 4 side, which is now the 5 side when Kavanaugh gets there. So now it's 6-3 before Amy Coney Barrett shows up. So there's every chance that we could have independent redistricting commissions outlawed by this Supreme Court coming up, which would mean gerrymanders ahoy.
Yeah.
Which would be terrible. So anyway, I'll just flag that. Do you think anything to say about the Supreme Court at all? No. Okay, that's fine. We can leave that. Oh, I would just say just one thing about the court packing thing. Biden did say during that town hall as well that he'll have a clear position before Election Day.
Yeah, but isn't his clear position, we're going to have a commission over in the first 150 days into court reform. I think this is what he actually said.
Oh, okay. I might be behind the times.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's, that's my clear position.
Well, look, that's better than you'll find out after the election. I'll take that. You know what I mean? Also, Amy Coney Barrett's polling very well now. She's 51% approval on Gallup. So how about
this
that?
Crazy world, that's polling very well.
Yes, it is.
51%.
Yeah, 49% amongst independents. And court backing as part of the same poll down to 31% approval. Also, before I forget,
yes,
I left this off last week. I forgot about it, but I was reminded of it afterwards when I was talking about the hypocrisy of the Republicans about the court packing thing, about how they've done plenty of court packing themselves.
Yes.
Like the 2 states that had court packing, etc. Back in 2013, John Cornyn, I think I mentioned on this podcast, I definitely mentioned on the show about the DC Circuit Court. Did I mention that on this podcast? Back in 2013, they were 3 seats short.
Right.
There were 3 seats that were empty.
Oh, yeah.
That Obama was trying to fill.
I think you must have mentioned this because this is ringing bells.
Yeah, Obama was trying to fill those seats and they wouldn't let him. And they accused Obama of court packing by trying to fill the 3 seats that were empty. And they literally, Tom Cotton, that dick, one more thing I don't like about Tom Cotton.
Yeah.
Actually proposed, he put forward legislation to remove 3 seats from the DC Circuit Court. Anyway, John Cornyn wrote an op-ed in 2013. This is the headline: "Don't let Democrats pack the DC Circuit Court." I can't believe the shamelessness. Anyway, okay, so let's not talk about Supreme Court anymore. COVID, we haven't talked about forever. Let's see how much more time we got. Got a little time. Let's go. All right. First of all, you mentioned that we're in the middle of the 3rd wave.
Yes.
I've talked about this at length on the show. Do you want to say anything about the wave before I move on?
Not really, because it's very depressing, very predictable.
Yeah.
It's a worldwide thing as well.
It is. Czech Republic has gone crazy.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
So I assume that there's a seasonal element to this.
Probably. Yeah, Europe's gone off the chart. Although when you put Europe in a per capita basis, it's not quite so wild. People forget Europe has a much higher population than America does.
Yeah.
But no, Czech Republic is just
What's
insane.
Czech Republic?
I don't know what their number is, but I've seen on the graphs they are way up past Spain and Italy and all those countries.
Okay.
Netherlands, Belgium, they're past Belgium on cases. Like they've just gone absolutely.
Belgium's like the perennial leader.
Yeah, that's
in all
right.
This.
Yeah. I think this is not total cases. This is in the last couple of weeks. They've just gone absolutely nuts. But some good news. A few things. First of all, we've been waiting for the schools to drop, like the penny to drop with schools. Doesn't look like it's dropping, so that's nice. Mobile testing at schools in New York returned a 0.14% COVID rate.
Okay.
For teachers, 0.36%. Teachers get a lot more.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, the whole of New York has low rates. There's like 1.2% low rates, but still, that's good. Yeah, that's good. An interesting study about death rates and how they've dropped. What they did, they looked at 5,000 hospitalizations in New York, between March and August, adjusted for figures like age and diabetes and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And they found the death rates dropped for all groups, including old people, from
That's
26% to 7.6%.
That is good.
So that's a big drop. Now, also another one of these. This is an interesting one. A little guessing competition for you here, Dr. Dave. Infection fatality rates. This is not the deaths from declared cases. This is deaths overall.
Right.
Infection fatality rates as a rate. These are from the CDC for every single state. Would you care to guess the three highest infection, or any of the three highest infection fatality rates in America?
What, by state?
By state.
Um,
I'll tell you, they're all 3.5%.
Gonna guess North Dakota.
Nope.
Am I in the right ballpark?
Nope. North Dakota's not doing well at the moment. You're right, but that's
Okay.
not it.
Right. Georgia.
Nope.
Delaware.
Maybe I should tell you.
Yes, I think you should because, yeah.
There's a lot of states.
Yeah.
It's definitely not New York. You're right to avoid that. New York's only 0.75%. Connecticut, New Hampshire, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
And Massachusetts wasn't
New
far
England
behind.
cluster.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that was interesting. Bad news. The vaccines looks like it's next year now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we kind of always knew that.
Yeah.
Like the only reason anyone was talking about it this year was because Trump wanted it before the election.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Cuomo's an idiot. That's not news. From his own town hall with George Stephanopoulos. Did you see this? Oh my god. Okay, I'll play all characters. George Stephanopoulos. How confident are you in the approval process of the FDA right now? Cuomo. First, how confident am I? I'm not that confident, but my opinion doesn't matter. I don't believe the American people are that confident. You're going to say to the American people now, here's a vaccine. It was new. It was done quickly, but trust this federal administration, their health administration, that's safe, and we're not 100% sure of the consequences. I think it's going to be a very skeptical American public about taking the vaccine, and they should be. So what's it going to take to convince you that it's safe, it's effective, that should be distributed? Well, what I said I'm going to do in New York is we're going to put together our own group of doctors and medical experts to review the vaccine and the efficacy and the protocol. And if they say it's safe, then I'll go to the people of New York and I'll say it's safe for that credibility. But I believe all across the country you're going to need someone other than this FDA and this CDC saying it's safe. Now, look, I get that we don't trust Trump. But Cuomo, he should not be going around saying you can't trust any of the government scientists. That's bad. That's really, really bad.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
like especially you look at the polls on are you going to get a vaccine, and the Democrats have dropped way off in the last 2 months. Like we really don't need that. Like they've still got more Democrats who are saying yes than Republicans, but it's almost 50-50 now between the two, which is extremely depressing. Oh, yeah, I've got the poll right here, actually. It's fallen from, would you personally get the vaccine right now? Fallen from 66% in July to 61% in August to 50% in September. Democrats have gone from 78 to 53%. Independents from 59 to 47%. Republicans have increased from 37 to 49%. So they're basically all at the same point now.
Yeah.
But just all moving in different directions. I want to say something about the Great Barrington Declaration. I keep on wanting to talk about this. I feel like there's a misunderstanding going on here.
Okay.
And this does not make me like Scott Atlas at all. But let's leave him aside for a second.
Yes.
Let's talk. There are
always happy to leave Scott Atlas aside, yes.
There are 3 doctors involved with this declaration. And at least one of them makes a lot more sense to me than what the declaration seems to say.
Right.
Okay. What he says is this Dr. J. Bhattacharya, I think it is, Bhattacharya.
Okay. Yep.
The current lockdown until a vaccine strategy itself is also a herd immunity strategy in the same sense, because essentially you're saying, let's wait until we have a vaccine, and that will then induce the population immunity that we want for safe activity. The goal is to minimize death, he says. If you want to minimize deaths, you need to account for the deaths that come from the lockdowns as well as from the COVID itself. We've discussed this. The critics focus only on COVID deaths and ignore the deaths of the lockdowns. That's unconscionable. Now, what you just said then was he's counting vaccine as herd immunity. That's what he said there, right? And when you look into it, a lot of doctors do refer to vaccines as herd immunity.
Well, yes. having published on this
Yeah.
about vaccines in the measles, mumps and rubella space, yes, 95% vaccination, that's herd immunity.
Yes, exactly, right?
Yes.
So when people are talking about, the Great Barrington Declaration is all about you just do whatever you like till you get herd immunity, you just make everyone sick till you get herd immunity. At least that doctor is talking about vaccines. That's what he's talking about. They're arguing across purposes. It's doctors, at least that doctor is using doctor language. Other people are using common language.
This is
and then
why I was
confused.
against the use of the term herd immunity from the beginning of let's just let people get infected.
Yeah.
Especially when people were talking about insanely low numbers for herd immunity, and we still don't know whether people can be reinfected. It actually looks like they can be. Yeah, so the term herd immunity was misused from the start. I've been against the use of the term herd immunity for 3 years now because the term herd immunity...
Even before COVID.
Because the term herd immunity, like a lot of people who are vaccine resistant or vaccine hesitant, they don't like the idea of being part of the herd, right? Their whole anti-vaccine stance is it's my body or it's my children's body. I'm making the decision here, and we think that this whole industrial medical society is really unhealthy. If you tell them, oh, no, but we need to do this for herd immunity, it's like you're basically saying, come and join the herd.
Yeah, sure.
The herd.
Oh, good band.
This is why vaccine activists have actually been using terms like community immunity. I think they gave up on that one because it was a little bit twee. But, community protection to refer to the same concept as herd immunity because, it's just not great.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to get that out there because there's a lot of talk about this. I'm not going to... We've discussed ad nauseum all the reasons why trying to go for I was going to use the word trying to go for people just getting themselves sick.
Yes.
Type immunity is such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because obviously young people get sick. Lots of people can get long-term issues that aren't death.
Yes.
And they're their problems as well. Who looks after the people who get sick? Who looks after the old people and the diabetes people and the blood pressure people who are all locked up because that's what they're supposedly doing with this Great Barrington Declaration, protecting the people who are vulnerable. Well, who's looking after them? What about the boundary cases? Because it's not so simple between on or off. It's not a building operation.
Yeah.
And this is the big one, which I think hasn't got enough press, which is if you reach a status of the actual definition of herd immunity with lots of cases, that's very different to if you reach herd immunity with no cases.
Yeah.
Because the cases don't go away.
No.
and if you've got these huge number of cases out there and 40% of the people don't have the immunity, it's still going to spread.
Exactly.
And
that's just logic.
Yeah, and how many more deaths?
Logic corner with Chaz.
How many more sicknesses are there as a result of the fact you hit the herd immunity from a high point rather than a low point?
Absolutely, yes.
And
this is why herd immunity in the case of measles, mumps and rubella is a real thing. Because there's not a huge amount of it out there.
Okay, so that's enough about Great Barrington Declaration.
Okay.
I want to say something about Sweden quickly. I've been reading a lot about Sweden recently, and I feel like
a lot of Adam Creighton columns.
I think he's moved on from Sweden, hasn't he? I feel like people are misrepresenting Sweden because they still talk about Sweden because right now Sweden's doing pretty well compared to most of Europe. We've talked about this from the beginning with Sweden saying you need to wait till the second wave and the third wave. Yeah, and right now Sweden is dropping down that table and people are going, oh, look at Sweden. Sweden were right. But Sweden at the end of 2020 is not the same as Sweden at the beginning of 2020. Like their whole strategy has been changing.
Yes.
The good thing about Sweden is that they're very flexible, and they've been changing their strategy. They're like right at the beginning, they did the thing where they weren't locking things down, but people were taking precautions off their own bat, being responsible citizens. They were locking up the nursing homes and then infecting them with people who weren't wearing PPE. That was a mistake. But that aside, that's what they started off with. But now they've changed, and now Sweden is about testing and contact tracing. It's contact tracing central. So if you're looking at Sweden, you're going, well, look how well they're doing. That's actually a vindication of the contact tracing strategy,
There you go.
not the do nothing strategy that
There
Scott
you
Atlas
go.
is keen on.
Yes.
So I just want to flag that out there.
Good. Thank you for flagging
And
that.
in fact, if someone tests positive, their entire household in Sweden is supposed to go into quarantine for 5 to 7 days. Their entire household. That's
great.
Not just them, right? So, although school children are apparently exempt because
Okay.
they reckon, the spread isn't so much for them. But anyway, my point is, Sweden is more complicated than you think it is.
Okay. I always thought it was complicated.
Yes. You got anything else to talk about, Dr. Dave?
No.
No? I'll leave the stimulus because I don't know what's happening with that.
No, we don't really know.
Like when they finally do something, I'll if they ever do something, I will let you know.
Okay, good.
But I'll just say one thing about stimulus before
Yes.
I wrap up, and that is that if I don't want to go into the tactics too much, but let's say they don't pass any stimulus, right?
Yes.
And what the Andrew Yangs of this world and Ro Khanna and like bona fide progressives are saying is Nancy Pelosi should take whatever deal she can get because she's going to get zero if Joe Biden wins the
Yes,
presidency.
yep.
Like the Republicans will give them absolutely nothing. It'll be right back to 2009 again.
Mm-hmm.
The only way they'll get anything is through reconciliation.
Yep.
You only get one reconciliation bill per year. Let's not spend it on this in February, 3 months later when it's way too late.
Yeah.
Just take what you can get, even if it's crap. Right? That's what they say. But it occurred to me that this might be the perfect bill for the Democrats to break the filibuster with.
It could be, yes.
Like if day one in January, whatever, if they come in and go, right, here's your bill.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a recession again, thanks to no stimulus for the last 3 months. Everyone's unemployed. They're not doing well. Let's get this economy going.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Republicans go nothing. That's going to poll in the poo.
Yes.
Like at the moment, stimulus is polling like 72%, I think it
yeah.
is. It'd be terrible polling. If they go, let's break the filibuster for that, people go, yay! And then you can do what you like. So actually, from a pure realpolitik kind of point of view, if you don't care about people being screwed up for 3 months,
Yes.
then it actually might work for the
There
Democrats.
you go. This is Realpolitik Room with
That's right.
Chaz Kissinger.
I'm not advising they do that. I'm just saying it just occurred to me that if you're cynical, that might work out well for the Democrats.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to say.
Nor do I.
Shall we say farewell then?
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone, for this PEP. There's going to be
Have a
a
good
PEP.
weekend.
There's going to be PEP next Wednesday. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, who is it?
It's a return guest. Dr. Molina is back.
Okay, great.
She's finally back. She's made her TV show, and
Okay.
she's finally back. So
Excellent.
so,
okay.
yeah, she's back just in time to promote her TV show.
Good. It was great last time. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.